Space, the final frontier.
Blue skies smiling at me, nothing but blue skies do I see. Never saw the sun shining so bright, never saw things going so right.
Let's see what's out there. Engage.
Hello and good evening. Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 1, Episode 26, The Neutral Zone is over, and it has been since, well, I think May or June of 1988. But we're just getting started here on Live Long and Podcast for our live stream review here in the year 2024, as we continue our mission to watch every episode of Star Trek The Next Generation and talk all about it. Normally on Monday nights, we're talking about the Orville, but Jody Simpson canceled on us, and, things came up for him. So, the guy who was like, you know what, why don't we throw a podcast on tonight? It's Justin Velociraptor.
Hey, good to see you, Captain. Figured we could use this slot to finish up season 1.
Yeah, well, I was like, yeah, I could have the night off, or I could, get this season 1 finished, and I was like, yeah, I guess, let's close out season 1 as we are probably going hiatus until at least Lower Decks wraps up in a few weeks. Coming in next, the man who is coming off daylight savings time. He might be feeling a little bit post-cryonics here. It's Adam Woodward.
Hey, guys. And Justin, finally nice to meet you and be on this with you live tonight. But I got to say, good idea, because I was looking forward to tonight. And when Dave asked, I said I could use this, so let's do it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you did. I'm glad we were able to pull this together. Actually, Adam and I got together and watched the Orville 2-parter last night. So thanks, Jody. We'll have to watch it again. But it's a pretty good one. So it's like, if you gotta watch one again, that's probably a good one to do. But let's get back on topic. Star Trek: The Next Generation. We're talking about this episode, The Neutral Zone, which is the finale of season 1. In this episode, the Enterprise is sent to investigate the destruction of Federation outposts near space controlled by the Romulan Star Empire, discovering a derelict Earth satellite with cryonically frozen humans aboard. And so that's kind of, really what this episode's all about is, well, first of all, the Enterprise is dealing with the Romulans, and that's very much at the forefront. But then we also have these 3 out-of-time humans, I guess, meant to represent the current time period of, like the 1980s or the 1990s. We don't get too specific here, but they're kind of around, and they're more of a distraction than anything. But, we're going to break this all down. Now, Davan Skelhorn, of course, from this program, he is also planning to join us as he continues his ongoing campaign to tell us how much he does not like season 1 and how much he doesn't think it's as good as the other seasons. I'm always like, hey, I need some panelists tonight. And Davan's like, I'm going to come tonight and tell you I don't like season 1. But you know what? I know I'm trying to get into this new format where I don't tell completely what I think, but I don't think this episode's all that bad. I don't think it's a great finale or anything amazing, but I don't think it's not something I dislike watching either. So talk all about it. Let's get into the premise, guys.
Hold on. Before you get going, can I just say that what's cool about season 1, and I'm looking forward to Davan joining, but every now and then you get a little treat. And in this episode, the treat with Anthony James, who played the Romulan on the right side of the screen.
Oh, the guy who talks like Murphy?
yes. But that guy, great character actor, like from the 70s on up. He played in like every show and played a lot of science fiction. He was in Buck Rogers. He was in V. He was in, I think he was in Mork and Mindy. He's just like, and one of my favorite movies, Unforgiven by Clint Eastwood, he played a guy named Skinny Dubois or something like that. So, like, great character. Like, I love this guy, and I was really thrilled to see him. I forgot he was in it. And I kind
Yeah.
of like the humans, the old humans too, like some of them.
Y-
Especially the
yeah.
graphic guy.
Well, as we've been approaching this episode, there's been some groans, kind of,
I like this episode.
from some of our podcast community. Of course, we have people in the live chat here as well, as this is a live stream, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Brandon Bullington, first one here. Thanks for joining us tonight, Brandon. What's up? What's up? Glad to have you with us, and we're doing good. Dave, Justin, Adam,
Good.
how are you doing? We're always good when we're talking Star Trek. You know,
Yeah.
Doing well. Can't
Even
complain
if
about
it's-
that.
if it's bad Star Trek. We're gonna talk all about this. Let's get into our visuals now. Plot-wise, we should be able to get through this pretty quick because there's not a ton in it. But basically, the Enterprise comes across a derelict. They call it a satellite. It's kind of like a little ship. It's very far from Earth. And we're also told, I think, in the opening voiceover from Commander Riker that Captain Picard is not here. He's going to be coming back to the ship soon. So
Emergency meeting.
there was an emergency meeting, so the captain's coming back on a shuttle.
That sets it off though. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, emergency meeting. So I know, but they found, because they happened to be sitting here waiting for the captain to return to the rendezvous point. They noticed this satellite thing, just floating out there, a piece of garbage basically, and Data finds it interesting. He's like, I'd like to look at this closer. I'd like to be more interested. And Riker's like, I guess, as long as you're done by the time the captain gets back, whatever. And he's like, okay, cool. And he's like, take Worf with you. He's like, okay. So Worf and Data hop over to this thing. Now they beam over. The one thing I did really notice, I guess, on this particular watch tonight, was that this ship, whatever it is, whenever it was built, it has gravity plating installed. So, which
And it still has oxygen.
it still has oxygen. Well, if you want to suspend disbelief, we're told that the atmosphere is thin. Of course, Data doesn't need to breathe, so really only Worf is sort of having to breathe some thin air in this particular section. But this, I don't know. This ship would have to be advanced enough, at least, that they had gravity plating at the time to install on this little ship, right? Anyway,
I don't think we should think too hard about the satellite.
I don't think are we not meant to think about that too much? Because
I don't think we're supposed to question how a satellite with no visible propulsion made its way all the way out near the Romulan neutral zone either. But
yeah, well, that's the other thing. How did this thing even get here? Did it I know it's been 300 years, but that's pretty incredible.
as far as I understand, this whole cryogenics plot was a last-minute addition, so it kind of makes sense that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I do want to know where they reused these panels from, though.
These are some interesting looking things here. I don't know. They look like old computer parts way before my time. Most of it, I don't know what it's all meant to represent, but it definitely looks antiquated by Starfleet, Star Trek standards and whatever. So they start kind of examining things. Worf tries to use the door. Of course, it doesn't open automatically. Like most doors is, and Worf is ready to shoot his way through the door until Data gets him to use the handle instead, which apparently is a big thing. I don't know, not the smartest thing. I think Klingons understand doors. And then we see the room with all these cryo chambers that it looks like something very, I don't know, like a freezer, basically. There's a little bit of this, fascination here. So they start examining these pods, and they discover that these pods have a bunch of dead people inside them. That the seals have been broken. That if they were once cryonically, frozen and preserved, but no longer, they are gone. Long decayed. And Data goes, "This one's empty." I'm like, why would they set up an empty one?
Too much money.
Too much
Costs
money.
too much money.
Yeah. And then Worf eventually discovers, he calls over the commander, and it is the woman whose name escapes me at this moment.
It's Claire Raymond.
Claire Raymond. And there's this look. Whoa, what's this mean? We see her there, and that is our teaser for the episode. Nothing about the neutral zone yet. Right, so it's they put all that in there. I gotta tell you, when I saw this even the first time, I don't know exactly sure how old I was, but I was fascinated with the idea of cryonics and the idea of being brought back from the dead. when I still kind of am. This idea that but we're also told that this is dumb. A fad and whatever and something. I don't know. Didn't they like freeze Walt Disney's head somewhere? I think
supposedly Walt Disney's head is frozen somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's a kind of an interesting concept. I think science fiction wise to go from your century to the distant future, right? So it kind of intrigues you there. One thing you got to know about LQ Sonny Clemens, he talks a lot of slang. That's true. We'll talk about Sonny. So get our title card for the episode, The Neutral Zone, as we're still around the station. They're examining these pods. Of course, we see our Claire, Sonny, and whatever his name is, Ralph Offenhouse.
Yeah. Great name.
What a name. Offenhouse.
It's such a 70s name. I think of that.
Yeah, speaking of, there he is. Told we're 50. We're told he's 55.
Man, I'm 53.
Yeah,
I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah, I guess the 80s, the 50s were different maybe. So anyway, so Data calls over to the Enterprise and goes, I don't know, I found some pods here. He doesn't really explain it too well to Riker, right? And he's like, I don't think we should leave them here. And Riker's like, whatever, just do whatever you think's best. Because Picard, by the way, has arrived at his shuttle and says, we have to leave as soon as I dock.
Do you guys think this is like a learning opportunity for Riker? Maybe he should ask a little more questions. Or is he just worried about Picard?
Absolutely. But what most people don't realize is where Captain Picard was at the beginning of this episode was procuring the follicle stimulant cream that's going to make Riker awesome in season 2.
Right. When he gets his beard, interesting that
there's actually a scene in a couple of, I don't know if you got a picture of it, where he's starting to show I think the reason why they changed the uniform for season 2 or 3, whatever happened. It was a little tight. A little tight,
and even with those muscle suits they're wearing underneath.
Yeah, and the girdle,
yeah, exactly. So we see that the Enterprise leaves the satellite behind, and it takes the people with it. So anyway, Picard's all business. He arrives on the bridge. He says, LaForge, set the course for so-and-so. He goes, Captain, that will take us right to the neutral zone. He's like, damn right it will. Get ready. Warp 8. Let's go.
8. He's not sparing the horses. Let's go.
Yeah. He's like, let's go. They're like, okay. And then he's like, conference right away. So we see the Enterprise warp off. And then we're told in this conference meeting what the deal is. I think this might be one of the first times I've seen Picard sit on this side of the table in this room. Of course, as the seasons will go on, that will typically be Picard's spot sort of at the end of that table on that side. But this is actually, I think, the first time he's done that. And he's basically saying the Romulan. Well, we know that a bunch of things have been attacked in the our base has been attacked in the neutral zone. We don't know what's going on. We are assuming it's the Romulans. Worf, of course, doesn't like Romulans. They're without honor, he tells us.
These are Romulans. They are without honor.
And it's the beginning of everything with his, anti-Romulan stuff. That's like that incorporating that into the storyline here. So there's kind of a lot of talk about, we haven't seen the Romulans in about 50 years. Like the Federation and Earth have not had a lot of contact. Now, they haven't written episodes like Yesterday's Enterprise yet, which will kind of establish that, they had some contact with the Romulans, like, the Battle of Narendra 3, and there were other examples. But generally, they haven't talked much to them in a long time. And so there's this great mystery. So they're going to head out there to the neutral zone and kind of figure out what the hell's going on. And maybe go to battle, but to try to maybe establish some kind of a peaceful relations with the Empire. So they say, okay, we'll meet up in 6 hours. Meanwhile, Dr. Crusher has called Picard down to sickbay. He doesn't know why, because no one has told him that this has happened with these people in the cryonics have come on board the ship. And she's like, well, guess what? I couldn't just leave them like that. Like their units were falling apart. So even though they were already dead,
I fixed them.
Incredible. So we see that the 3 survivors, I guess, they've been dead for centuries, but they are now alive again. Once again, the cryonics worked really well. they were thawed out. No, she says they all had terminal conditions at the time, which now with medical technology they can easily cure. And I don't know.
I love when she's going over it, and it starts with like the singer, I guess, and he's like cirrhosis
of the liver, yeah. Right, that one died from it. The woman Claire, she died of an embolism, which that's I don't know what medical technology would prevent that now in this time, or maybe they can bring you revive you easier. One guy died of some kind of heart condition. This Offenhouse, she comments that he would have known he was terminal for a long time, and of course this guy Sonny, who might have an alcohol problem.
Sonny Clements. And
more than an alcohol problem.
Drug abuse and everything else. But I guess he's meant to be like a country singer or something.
When she was describing it, I love this Picard's quote. Sounds like someone who hated life, yet he had himself frozen, presumably so he didn't have to go through it all again.
Yeah. It was like, wow, a lot of judgments here. Like
too afraid to live, too afraid to die, or too scared to die.
Right, yeah. There's a lot. Well, this idea that, cryonics and being, she says, like, people in the 20th century were so afraid of dying. It terrified them. I'm like, are you not afraid to die now? Or at all? But I guess less so than we are maybe in this century or the 20th century. So, yeah, I think this is where Picard, she's like, Data, can we have a word in sick bay? And he was like, Data, why'd you do this? This is.
You were dead. You didn't have to do anything.
I had to pull this quote. Yeah.
They were already dead. I mean, what more could have happened to them?
He's like, yeah, I see your point, but it seemed like the right thing to do. I'm not sure that Data did do the wrong thing here. In this particular scenario, should he have left them there? I don't know.
I think he could have I don't know if Data believed, he had no intention of them being revived, I don't think
that was on his mind, but he didn't. He's like, I found some human bodies, but he didn't return like those decomposed ones. It was only the ones that were still preserved.
I think it's really Crusher who pulled the trigger here.
Right. Well, she's like, I can save them, and is she not correct to do so as well?
No, they're dead.
But they can be saved.
Bringing them back on board the ship, I can see that. But bringing them back from the dead, I'm not 100% behind that. Only because I think that Star Trek zombies might not be a direction that we want to end up going in.
You're worried it will lead there.
I'm kind of agreeing with you, Justin, because it's not like they just died in a battle or in some accident or something. They died 350 years ago.
Right.
They've been meat popsicles for quite some time at this point.
Hey, Norman.
Hi, Norman.
Hey, Norman.
Yeah. I disagree. I think they did the right thing here. I think they're right to save them from the thing, and I think they're right to revive them.
Save them from what?
But they're not saving them, though. They're reviving them.
Because they've been preserved.
I guess.
It worked.
Leave me a meat popsicle. When you find me drifting on a satellite in space in 300 years, let me remain a meat popsicle.
If you're in like the Claire position where your spouse is the one who did this to you, you didn't sign up for it yourself.
I'd want to be revived. I'm not gonna lie, Dave. If I was in the position, sure, I'd be happy they revived me.
Like, depending on how many centuries later you wake up, there could be like major problems, right, for you. But I think that this is maybe just enough time has passed that it's all right. You might get to a century where, I guess they would have translators, but you may not even be able to talk anywhere. All right, wait. Here he comes. He's a big fan of season 1.
This actually, Dave, you'll be happy. This episode surprised me. I've remembered hating it, and I didn't hate it.
Yeah, me either. I didn't hate it either. I liked the previous episode more. But I didn't dislike this. I think that the tension with the Romulans was good.
Yeah, and I just remembered hating those unfrozen people. But actually, I found 2 of them kind of interesting this time. So.
Yeah, like they're a little one-dimensional for sure. But
yeah,
which 2?
What?
Which?
Well, you gotta love old LQ Sonny, whatever his last name was.
Clemens,
yes, Sonny Clemens. Yeah, you gotta love him. He's actually like not a bad guy, and he's kind of because he's a drug addict, But like, I guess so. He's like not fussed by everything because he's like, he's more worried about just getting drugs. Like, it's like, you're very adaptable to the future. He's just like, oh man, whatever. I'm high.
She's like, there's no medical need. He's like, there might not be a medical need, but come on.
But it's funny, their like interpretation of him. They're like, this looks like someone who must hate life, to drink, destroy your liver. And it's like, no, this buddy loves life, man. This guy.
Too much.
Exactly.
Joie de vie, but that's lost on them. Yeah, there's a little bit of course, this judgment, this looking down on these people from the past. But I think that the big question we were just on, Davan, is like, does Data do the right thing by bringing them aboard in the first place? Does Dr. Crusher do the right or wrong thing by reviving them, and bringing them back to life?
Her thing was she had to either let them die or revive them.
They were dead.
From her perspective, she has to revive them. She's a Starfleet doctor. She's kind of obligated to not let them die if she can help it. But Data,
like if somebody's in cardiac arrest, right, on a table, and you're hitting them with like a defibrillator or whatever else, they're technically dead, aren't they?
You're right. These three were dead already. You're right. You are
350 years, Davan. They're dead.
They had freezer burn.
But also dead before they were frozen, so they were
dead.
They were dead. Oh, yeah. Did you disconnect your mic?
Yep.
What's up, Gavin?
I'm back, baby. Who called me Gavin? Like, I've gotten that like 700 times in my life. And it's not my name.
Got 1701 now.
Who is this Brandon Bullington?
Well, he's a new fan.
What's up, Braden?
They call me Dawood.
Hey.
But yes, back on this idea of these people that have been brought back to life, and yes,
I'm convinced they should be dead. Zombies. They were dead. Beverly even did the wrong thing. Hot take.
I'm with you. I don't think both of them. Data, I don't know what he was doing, but she should never brought them back to life.
Well, but like again,
don't get me started on the Worf fainting thing.
Wasn't Carrie Kim technically dead in that one Voyager episode for a few hours until the doctor brings him back to life?
A few hours, though.
Well, I guess what is the statute of limitations? I guess it's over 3 centuries, right?
It's somewhere between.
In the future, you've got a little grace time.
300 years. 3 hours and 300 years, somewhere in there.
But the fact that, like, now this woman, Claire, who 35 years old, we're told, that she can go on to potentially live a much longer life, is that technically a bad thing?
No, she's nice. She's just seems like a nice lady.
Yeah, she does. Like, she
which
has
is
nowhere
funny
to go.
because Picard's saying like, well, these three are all just like. And they're all just saying how the three of them are all just trash. It's like, these are just the worst people. They make the whole century and their whole generation look like shit. And like, what are you talking about? She's just a nice lady. What?
Right.
What
she's a homemaker. It must be some kind of construction person.
Don't get me started on first season misogyny. This is more of it.
Speaking of first season misogyny, I think Sonny's lucky he walked away with that hand at a sick pay.
Oh man, did I friggin' laugh though. I was like, oh, he went in for a little double tap there on the way out the door. What a guy.
The greatest little doctor I ever saw.
Yeah, tap, tap.
Very 80s
And the other greatest quote from that guy was, what was it? I have it here. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Oh, heck, it's the same dance, just a different tune.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
I paraphrase that as I'm high, but same thing.
So we got 35-year-old Claire. We got 55-year-old 55.
Look, in the 80s that was 55. Now that's 85.
Yeah, he looks closer to 85 or 70. I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, Picard's this perfect case. Like Patrick Stewart looked older in 1987 than he did in 2007.
Right. Like Patrick Stewart's only in his late 40s at this point. So somehow the lack of hair helps with that. And
even Offenhouse didn't bother me this time, this rewatch. Like,
yeah,
I remember really hating him. I was just like, this guy sucks, but
I don't like what they do with the music, like his little twangs they throw into like the score of the episode. I'm like, I could do without those. But
what about the '80s princess twinkle that Claire gets?
I didn't even notice that.
They all get the princess twinkle. This is TOS season 4. They all get the twinkle.
Right. Well, there's definitely some truth to that. So anyway, so I think Picard leaves them after they've been all revived. Riker, he goes to Riker. He's like, "You go deal with those people and keep them out of my way. We're dealing with some serious Romulan stuff here, but we'll get back to that." So then we get a whole scene down here in what's called the guest lounge, where Riker's kind of explaining this all to them. They've all been given
interesting set. Like we've never seen this room before,
I don't think we ever saw it again either.
Those chairs look so uncomfortable for the people sitting in them.
Everything in the future looks uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's also everything is carpeted. I don't know if anyone noticed how much carpeting there is over the walls, over everything, and all of this.
Oh, Enterprise D is carpeted, fully carpeted.
They like the carpet, it's very in fashion in the 2360s. So it's just the way it's
the
going.
1980s, one or the other, whatever.
Well, patterns
comes back around. Exactly.
Comes right back around all the time.
Sure does.
So Riker explained this to them. They've all been given like the science division jumpsuit or something to wear. And this is all kind of explained to them that they died.
Don't taint my division with those outfits, Dave.
300 and something years ago that they, were, there was this thing cryonics that, and so in the case of Offenhouse, the older 55-year-old financier, he paid for this a lot of money to be part of this. He knew he had this heart condition. He knew he was going to die young, I guess. And
Brandon Braga saw this episode and is like, those are the fucking uniforms we need for our new Star Trek show.
Maybe. It all makes sense now.
So Offenhouse very happy. Of course, we know that Sonny Clemens also paid for this himself. But
keep the money away from his ex-wife.
I keep it away from his ex-wives.
Ex-wives.
He sold his Bond collection to fund this.
I guess Sonny Clemens was like a pretty he had some money. He was pretty successful.
He said he had some hits, and he says all his hits will be hits again because they forgot him.
Right.
He's the one that's happy about it. They're all like, one guy's like, "No, I lost my money." The lady's like, "No, I lost my family." He's just like, "Shit, everyone forgot about all the shit I did. This is amazing."
Well, they say she's like, "What about the liver that was about to blow up in my face?" They're like, "It's totally fine now." He's like, "This is the greatest day of my life or my death," I guess. So and they're back here now. In Claire's case, she didn't know about any of this. Like her husband must have done this after she died. Because she had heard of this, but she's the most. She didn't sign up for any of this. She's just kind of thrown into the situation.
Her husband just throwed her dead body in a freezer.
I gotta say,
she was fridged.
And then launched
being married to a Claire and being super impulsive about new technology. I felt kind of
you're that guy
by this.
What does she say? He's like, if it's new and stupid, he'd be all over it. Like, is that what she says about her husband?
I mean, I can't argue with it.
I asked Callie when we were watching this. I said, "Would you do that to me?" And she goes, "Hell no, it's too much money."
Yeah, they would have had to have been able to afford this too. So, like, I'm curious about the relative wealth of the Raymond family back in the day. Anyway, so this is all kind of broken down. Yeah, I think, of course, Clemens is loving it. He's having fun, and I don't know, he's telling jokes and whatever else.
I like when he starts looking at data. What is that?
What is that? He goes, he's like, "You mean like a robot?" He's like, "Well, there's a big difference between an android and a robot." The other thing they talk about is TV. Can we not watch TV? And he goes, "What is TV?" I think he's talking about television. Apparently, that's going to die by 2040 or
that's
something.
About right. I think that's about right.
We are on track.
Maybe, like as far as like cable television, like television.
But the idea that we won't watch any kind of screen?
No,
they still do. They still do.
They had movie night every week.
Yeah, that doesn't count. Yeah, they still do.
But he does point out, like, you guys must get pretty bored. You have no TV and you have no money. Is that
drugs?
Drugs, no drugs. So it must kind of suck around here. And he's like, "Yeah, I guess it does."
Yes, it does.
So and then of course, Offenhouse, he wants to make a phone call to call his lawyer or whatever, his firm. He's like, "I don't really know."
He needs to call Geneva to check on his accounts.
Yeah, he's like, Riker's just like, I don't know what to do with that.
He was a crooked bastard too, hiding all his money over in Switzerland and shit.
Oh,
Like,
yeah, he was a
Swiss
tax
bank
evader.
accounts.
what a bastard.
Yeah.
Pay your taxes.
Oh, it's never been about money. It's been about power, not about things.
You know whose name showed up in the Panama Papers? This guy.
Old Offenhouse. House.
So anyway, back to the whole Romulan storyline, where Picard is talking to Counselor Troy on the bridge. She's like, "What do you know about these Romulans?" She's like, "Not much, not more than you do." But she explains that they have.
This is the most useful she's been in the entire run of this series so far.
It's a pretty good scene for her, actually. She has a lot of good intel here. She's like, well, the Romulans are very passionate. They're violent 1 minute, tender the next. They're
arrogant beyond belief.
Arrogant beyond belief, but their fascination with humanity, for whatever reason, has kind of
which is interesting, right? Fascination with humanity. What an interesting phrase that is about the Romulans.
Right? Why?
They usually don't give a shit because they're their high superiority complex, right? So it's like, I think that's something that would have got fleshed out if we'd have gotten 3 more seasons of Enterprise, because for those 3 seasons were just supposed to be Romulan. So like those 3 seasons would have been so good.
That would have been so good. Yeah, it's too bad we never got that.
I think that really comes, in my head anyway, it comes down to how much humans frustrate Vulcans. And that's why Romulans like them so much.
Like,
but yet they still work with them side by side.
Right. Well, I think it's also maybe the cooperation potentially between humans and Vulcans, and the fact that it's acknowledged outright in this scene that the Vulcans and Romulans are related, but they've diverged over time in how they act. Right. So it's, I think it's a pretty good scene, and
I do too.
Works pretty. It's quick, and Picard likes it. He's like, "Thank you, Counselor."
But he's like surprised. He's just like, "Wow, Counselor, that was actually good information." I must say, I'm shocked.
I like those beads.
I was going to fire you at the end of the season, but now I'm going to keep you.
No, you can stay on.
No, we're going to send Beverly instead.
Yeah, we'll get rid of Beverly. She just got a little tap on the bum.
Should not have woken up those humans.
She got
She's already firing an HR complaint, and
she won't be back for a whole season.
Exactly.
She's got to go get HR training about how to avoid zombies on starships.
Meanwhile, Data's showing Sonny Clemens how to work the replicator. At first, he's going to get a steak dinner with all this food, and then he cancels.
A mess of greens, Dave. A mess of greens.
A mess of greens.
Collard
but then
greens,
he changes his mind.
Yeah, man, I got some in my garden right now. They're delicious.
I'm going right to the booze. Give me the martini with 2 olives for the vitamins. Which
that's where he gets his vitamins. But he says so serious. For the vitamins.
Well, for the vitamins, yeah. And they're amazed to see the replicator. Of course, you would be, right? It happened right in front of you. He takes.
I can't believe he didn't try to make drugs. Like instantly.
He's like,
if it can do this, surely it can make me cocaine.
Can it make me an 8-ball coke?
Beverly for that.
Yeah. That's true. He does.
Apparently, it's a pretty strong drink,
doctor. Because he probably knows doctors that did give him drugs back in his life. So he's just like, oh, the doctor, that's where I need to go.
Will you give me some? Yeah, we see how that works out for so many musicians when they get their prescriptions, like Prince and others. Anyway, so that's going well, and then I do like the teaming up with Sonny and Dan. It's not bad,
I'd watch that show. Give him a
kind of
shot.
interesting.
Send him.
I'd watch an episode.
Dynamic. So anyway,
hanging out with some pit whoopies.
Riker gets called off here to the bridge. He uses the comm panel in front of Offenhouse. Big mistake. I don't know. They don't give these guys much of an orientation, really, about what to do, what not to do.
This is another 20th century person on board, like they always do in the original series.
Like a historian or whatever. Like, yeah, they do have their guy. They already had him in this series, in this season.
Right.
So
he got shot in the Big Goodbye.
Oh,
yeah. He didn't die, though. He should still be. But he probably left
he would be the appropriate. I'm not going to the holodeck anymore.
Serving with Picard anymore. He got me shot in a holodeck in a gangster
program. Put me on a freighter.
Yeah, we know it wasn't because of the pat on the bum, or was it?
Yeah, behind the scenes, maybe. Yeah. Old Roddenberry was still running around.
That is true. Gene was still there.
The old hound dog himself.
I think this is where Sonny asks Data to help him get a guitar or whatever.
No.
No,
He said, "You got to go to work. I get it. Now we're gonna rustle up a couple pit woofies for something."
Pit woofies. Low
what the hell's
mileage.
a pit woofie?
Dave, okay.
I looked this up.
Children watching. All right. So low mileage pit woofie. So he is looking for a groupie who has not been a groupie for very long, if you catch my drift.
Okay. New to the scene.
That's what he's looking for. New to the scene. He's looking for a not overly well used groupie. Is what he's looking for.
A virgin groupie. Preferably.
He's looking for a virgin groupie. He's looking for a low mileage
or
pit
young.
Right.
Using stock car racing to describe women who are like groupies in the rock and roll.
Oh, Brandon says I'm wrong, and Pit Woofie is like a country band or something.
No,
Or are they named after the original term?
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah, I've known Pit Woofie to mean
A couple of low mileage country bands doesn't make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Well, there's this whole after the scene's over, Data says to Riker, "They are the weirdest humans I've ever met, and I've met some weird humans." And he's like, "What's going to happen to them?" And Riker's like, "I don't know."
That's what Riker calls them all scumbags, even the nice lady.
Yeah, she's just sitting there crying,
Riker.
and he's like, "These people suck." Right?
that woman has touched monetary currency.
Yeah, they're pretty snobbish about it, honestly. Except for not Deanna, but like a lot of the other ones who interact with them. Then we have this other conference up in the Ready Room where they're talking more about the Romulans, like what's
Do you
happening.
guys remember seeing that petrified wood on Picard's desk cover?
I can't recall that specifically.
No.
That's different.
It's like one episode. Oh, he liked it, and I don't really like it.
I don't remember his desk having this much wood paneling, but maybe it does.
And there's no fish tank.
No,
I don't think that's wood, is it?
In the later
I
seasons.
think that's isn't that like a cut stone? Like that's just a slice out of a stone. Like
It might be a
gemstone.
geode.
Yeah, it's like a geode.
Regardless, it wasn't there later.
I haven't noticed that before either. No, or that
No.
specific stand he has there for it either. Is there no fish tank in this scene? I don't know if I have a shot of the room from that angle. We never see
I still
that.
want to know what Jellicoe did to his fish.
Yeah, he's
Nothing good.
send it to cetacean ops maybe.
He just said get rid of them.
Fed them to
fish tank.
cetacean ops.
Right. So meanwhile, while this important meeting's happening in the Ready Room, they're talking more with the Romulans. Like, basically, the Romulans might be they're assuming the Romulans are attacking all their bases. That when they attack, they tend to go all out. And Riker has his assessment, and everyone's like pretty much preparing for war. But meanwhile, Offenhouse, he uses the comm panel to call up to Captain Picard, and then he compares the Enterprise to the QE something like some kind of a cruise ship.
Queen Elizabeth, the second ship. Yeah, QE2.
QE2.
Yeah, QE2.
He's like, he's comparing
Pulls
the
in
Enterprise
here all the time.
to a cruise liner? How dare he? You know? Riker, did you let him use the panels? No, sir. No, I would never have let him. He must have seen me do it. Did you tell him not to use it when you did that? You know?
I like it. Picard and Offenhouse's conversation. Though Offenhouse is like, well, if it's so important, why doesn't it have an executive key? And Picard's just like, because we can exercise self-control, restraint. He's just like, oh well, we didn't do that back in my day.
Yeah, right.
I demand. He demanded twice in that little speech.
Yeah, so as Offenhouse is kind of going on his rant, I've waited long enough. I want to know where my lawyers are, where my bank
Your
accounts are.
staff is terrible.
Your staff is terrible.
They're dead, Ralph.
And while he's kind of going through it, and then we see that Claire and Sunny are like kind of uncomfortable with this whole thing, but they're I don't know.
Sunny and Claire.
What's that from?
Sunny and Cher.
Oh, okay. Actually, saying.
I got you, Dave.
Riker or Picard actually he leaves his meeting. This is astonishing to me. He leaves the meeting. He goes right down to this guest call and he confronts Offenhouse directly. And he also Offenhouse insults Picard, saying, "A military career has never been very lucrative, has it? You know, or."
He's like, look, Borper, you're talking to a rich person now.
Yeah, you might be a soldier, but whatever.
It's like the interest on my accounts alone were enough to buy the ship.
Smithers, give him the thrashing of a lifetime.
He's thinking very Mr. Burns kind of a character, isn't he? And then Picard's like, yeah, well, no, you'll do whatever we say you can do. And then eventually, I think this, I don't know. Offenhouse goes
take
on
the spruce moose.
We'll take the spruce. Yeah. Clearly, my things. He's like, your lawyer's been dead for centuries. Like, I know, but come on.
His firm's still there. They're like,
it's a renowned firm.
It's a renowned firm. That partner would still be, his thing. I don't know. I was like, maybe.
His great grandson is my lawyer now. We had it in the contract.
Like, so they don't have money in the 24th century, but presumably they would have some lawyers, at least for criminal purposes, right? Maybe not for civil purposes.
I don't think they would. I think they would just have tribunal, like judges. It would just go to a judge.
Well, you would want representation if you were accused of a crime.
They have solicitors because people get charged with stuff and have defenders and whatnot.
And we've seen them in Strange World.
We got the JAG in this.
Well, that too. But that's more what I was talking about. Like
within Starfleet, they have their own for court martials and whatever. Yeah. But I mean, just civilian wise, yeah. Then we see that Claire just starts crying through this whole thing with Offenhouse and Picard, and he's like,
what if he's right and that firm is still there?
He might be, I don't know.
Picard would be pretty stupid, wouldn't he?
Picard has no time to care about any of this, but they should have said, "Here's a holodeck. Why don't you play with this for a while?" But
we can make pit woofies.
We can make pit woofies for you. So then Picard's like, "Counselor Troy, please come down." He kind of comforts Claire here. He's called up, because he is heading towards the neutral zone. It's kind of a big deal. Excellent.
Ted approves.
Oh, good. And then finally, Offenhouse has a little bit of humility. He's just like, "I'm sorry, Captain. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't understand. Whatever." He's like, "That's the first
I was rich. You're telling me I'm not rich? It's a lot to handle."
He's like, "That's the first thing I've understood that you have said." So Picard leaves. He finds Counselor Troy in the corridor. He's like, "Keep those people under control." And again, Claire and Sonny were not really doing much. They were just kind of sitting there passively, right? But they're very agitated by these people being on board.
They are leaving them in there to just be bored. They don't have anything to do except just stew about their kids.
Yeah, they're like, "Can we watch TV?" No TV.
Sonny just wants to
do anything.
Something in the room.
Sonny just wants to get back to his rock star lifestyle, but it's not meant to be. So then we get this whole scene here with Claire and Deanna. They set the shrink to talk to me, Claire says. She's like, everyone I've ever known. She talks about her husband, that if he was new and dumb, he would have bought it. I died.
Old Donald. His name was Donald.
Donald Raymond. He couldn't face it, so he froze me, and then I would never really be gone. But I don't know, so
they'd never get to see me again. So what's the point? I don't know.
You'd still be dead, yeah. Or to him, you're dead. But look, he technically gave her a second life. Did he? So
that's love for you.
There you go. So Deanna's like, well, why don't we look up the records? I think she's also thinking about the fact that her kids are dead more than anything, right? Long gone. And as a parent, you definitely got to relate to that. You wake up in a world, or any person, you wake up in a world where everybody you've known is gone. All she has is Offenhouse and Sonny. That's all she's got. So they're like, I wonder if they became like family. Maybe not. So Deanna starts looking things up. Meanwhile, this is the infamous scene here with Sonny.
Offenhouse moved to Ferenginar.
Yeah, he's like, he probably did, or he joined the Bank of Police or something.
Yeah, the Bank of Police, maybe. Yeah.
He's like, I'm a great financier. Watch this.
He does have instincts, though, and that's what I liked about him in this episode. Actually, he realizes he doesn't know anything, but he still has skills that he can apply. People. And
Picard's like, yeah, he's right. Yeah. Right, so he's got a point, even though he sucks, but he's right.
I like his line about I can recognize somebody with a dry mouth.
Dry mouth, yeah.
He's like they're all nervous around here about something because they all get dry mouths.
After Dr. Crusher turns down his request for whatever he's asking for,
HR
pats her on the bum here or whatever, prettiest doctor he's ever seen, and then she's just like, I hate this shit.
What?
Okay.
I'm leaving. I'm going to star on an episode of Dream On with Brian Benben, and everything will be better.
I think this is I think this is her last scene until season
Well,
3.
they filmed them out of order.
Did they?
Remember, like Tasha waves goodbye after she's like already not
some
dead
episodes, yeah, but
Yeah.
like I think this episode was filmed last for the season. But anyway, back to Claire. She's looking through the family tree. You can see like all these dates here. I don't know, like 2009, 2007.
Denise Crosby Raymond, Marina Curtis Despina, Jonathan Frakes Raymond,
get out.
Brent Spiner Raymond, Lavardis
Lavardis B.
Burton Raymond,
Jonathan F. Raymond,
Will Wheaton LaChance Raymond, he's LaChance Raymond,
Walter D. Raymond, Kelly. Yeah, these are all people, of course, who either work on the show or actors.
Yeah,
Sarah Paul. Yeah. Anyway, like so she's kind of going
that's
through.
pretty
all
funny.
this.
I never
There's
noticed.
also on the third screen. There's a whole MASH thing. You got Charles W. Winchester, Sherman P. Margaret H.
Nice.
It's hard to read this particular one. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's smaller, but yeah. Until finally she's just looking through that, and then she just gets sad. Like Deanna's like, bye, okay, and she's just looking at this family tree. But like, you think there would be like, I don't know, videos of her kids growing up, pictures. I don't know. It's hard to say what's left after World War III. Which would
This is before the internet too. Like,
Yeah,
they didn't
hopefully-
anticipate people loading every second of their lives onto a fucking
Right.
public device.
yeah.
Hopefully, by the 24th century, we've wiped out the Facebook archives.
Maybe. I think they would have historical benefits, maybe. So then Sunny's talking to Data about let's have a party, or not a party, just a get together. Some suds, some people. Just something to do. Come on, why not? Like he's bored. Like the boredom is even though they're in this tense military situation, and he's like, okay, I'll talk to the captain. He's like, great. And then he's like, hey, what's this neutral zone thing I hear about? He goes, it's a buffer between the Romulan Star Empire and the Federation. He's like, that doesn't sound good. Why does that make me nervous? He's like, I don't know. Like that was.
I like that's his line after that though. He goes, "But we're not inviting them to our party, are we?" He's just like, no, that would be inappropriate.
Okay. So then here, the Enterprise has arrived at the neutral zone. Data at his station, detecting something. I think the distortion of a cloaked ship. I think they're also finding that the colony, the first outpost that they've arrived at, is completely destroyed. Everyone's gone, and but it wasn't destroyed by conventional weapons. That's the other part of this big mystery here, is that it was just kind of scooped up. So Picard's like, let's go to the next base, I guess. And
I didn't realize until we watched this again too that like they did it 2 episodes in a row where they dropped this huge big bad and just like never explain it again.
Well, it's the Borg.
They don't say that in this episode.
No, not in this episode. But
Or
that's
like ever reference that's what happened to these Romulan outposts or anything. Like it's just left
kind
a
of
complete
hinted
mystery.
at in Q Who. It's kind of hinted at that's what happened to them, just by
really?
way of the destruction that's described in Q Who. But I don't think it's ever straight up.
It's also in the episode with the what's the episode with the Iconian gateway? I think it's also talked about in that episode that the attacks on the Romulans and the Federation is from some other enemy. When we get to season 2, I'm sure we'll connect those dots. But that's the idea, is that the Romulans and the Federation are victims of this attack in this episode. But we have to talk about this scene first, guys. The scene here with Offenhouse and Claire.
Trying to rally his troops.
He was trying to Offenhouse is trying to rally the other two. They're like,
We have to overthrow this ship.
There's something tense going on in this ship. They're like, even if that's true, what do you want us to do? And he's like, we should try to find out what's happening. They're like, let them do their jobs. And
Don't swim in their soup, Dave.
Don't swim in their soup. Good. He's like, look at my guitar. They're like amazed.
Plays pretty nice too.
Plays pretty nice. Even got his name on it. Just like
Definitely a country singer with a guitar like that.
Yeah, that's a little the rose, and it's got style.
It's got something.
Right.
Exactly.
So Offenhouse, he's not here to play guitar. He's here for business and money. So he storms off. Up to the bridge. Well, he's on his way. We'll get there.
Wouldn't have been great in DS9 if he came strolling into Quark's bar and Quark knows him in their old business. That would have been a fun little pickup.
Wouldn't that have been like someone get that man a copy of the rules of acquisition?
But like the actor was probably dead because he was 45, looked at 85 at the time. So like
he's long gone now. He'd be 108 now. Anyway, so
and it looked like when he's laying down in the bed when they're still dead that he has like a scar, like he already had a surgery from his like smoking days. Like
maybe. Yeah, he seems like he's got some smoke damage. Anyway, so Offenhouse trying to figure out how to, because they go to yellow alert. There's a few parts in this episode where Riker challenges Picard. By the way, he's like, "No, we need to go to red alert," and Picard's like, "Yellow alert." So that's what happens here. So I guess Offenhouse sees this woman come out of the turbo lift, and he's like, "Oh, that's what I'll do. So I'll use this turbo
looks like
lift.
I know an elevator when I see one."
And he's
Why
like,
don't I get a scant?
He's trying to find like the buttons initially. He's like, "Where would the captain be?" They're like, "The captain's on the bridge." He's like, "Take me to the bridge. Here you go."
That seems like a security oversight. That
Oh
anyone
boy,
could just
here we
ask
go,
where the
Justin.
captain
This is the
is.
thing about every freaking Star Trek ever.
Yeah, it's a little too easy to get around.
TNG season worse is a little bad though. Like when they know these people are from the past and they just park Worf in front of her while she's waking up. Like nobody thought there's a whole ship full of friggin' people and no one thought maybe that's a bad idea.
Or like just
they never think of anything.
In the room that they're in. Like let's not have them wandering the ship.
They gave them a chess set, guys. Like they thought they played the three-dimensional chess
and a replicator.
I'm just a lowly 21st century man. What do I know? I'm just a paranoid product of my time.
Yeah. Well, you think you would need like a code to get up to the bridge, but I don't know.
An executive key, perhaps.
An executive key. Yeah. I think this Offenhouse has got some great ideas about many things.
Security.
Security.
Get the security officer.
For one thing. So they're waiting.
Subscribe to that man's subspace newsletter.
They're trying to track the cloaked Romulan ship, but like it keeps like the Romulans are basically trying to kind of like bait them into attacking, to see what they'll do. And the Offenhouse comes up to the bridge in the heat of all this, and nobody notices him. Not the two security guards at the back of the room. No, not anybody. They're very enthralled here. And he's just
muted again.
Oh, I said everybody's bad at their job in season 1. It's my biggest complaint with the season.
Not Picard. I think he handles this pretty well.
In this episode, he's actually in the last like 4 or 5 episodes, he's gotten pretty good at his job. But they have to catch up the rest of them.
Yeah, and then Offenhouse starts saying like, "What the hell's happening? Get this man off the bridge." They grab him here. He's like, "You got your dirty hands off me!" But then, just then, what is it? Sir, the Romulan ship is decloaking, and then we get our first reveal in TNG of the Romulan Dederidex Warbird.
So again,
it's so
security
gorgeous.
officers just stop doing what they're supposed to do and start looking as well.
Everyone's just in awe of this,
gorgeous. They're like, why can't we make ships like that? Ours just look like a stupid bowl or a plate.
Yeah, they're amazed by this, and then we see that it's the ship from space. How large it is. I think in comparison to the Enterprise, and like this is a great reveal. I think of one of the great ship reveals, better than I think what we got in like Star Trek Nemesis with the with Shinzon's ship, because I also just like the look of this ship more.
This ship is awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Shinzon's ship was overshadowed by those sweet friggin' Valdor class that were also revealed in that movie. That looked great.
I love them too. I love the Romulan green hull that's introduced here as well, because they'd always had like kind of like that same kind of hull as starships had, in the original.
Gray with the bird painted on the bottom.
Right. Yeah. Until they went to the Klingon, like the D7 type. Yeah, but that kind of style there.
I have the same
Romulan bird of prey.
Yeah. I don't know. I like the fact that I don't think they actually call it a warbird in this episode, but we know that that's what it is. Mm-hmm. And then I think Picard says open hailing frequencies, and Worf doesn't want it. He's like, "These are Romulans. What are you talking about? We can't talk to them. You want to have a chat with some
They killed my
Romulans?"
family at Kittimer.
You're right, though. Picard does have some discipline issues going on here. Everybody's questioning him.
Yeah, everyone's questioning him here. He says, "Control your emotions, Worf." And then Picard moves on. There's this look here from Riker to Worf that I was like kind of stuck on for a second. I was like, "Is that a look of approval or a look of he's upset with Worf?"
You've overstepped your bounds there, buddy.
You overstepped there, Worf. Don't you talk to the captain about that. If he says open hailing frequencies, you open the damn hailing frequencies.
Yeah.
And so here we go.
You say how high.
You say how high.
Yeah.
And the channel opens up, and we get to meet, what are the names? T-Bach and Thigh, played by Mark Alimo and Anthony James. I was saying that the guy on the right, Davan, was reminding me a bit of Murphy in the way he speaks. Just kind of that lower register.
I love this.
That's funny.
Sort of thing. I was like, if we ever do this episode, we should get him to play that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Alimo's always great.
Alimo, the only thing that took me out of it a little bit because it's Alimo and like that's the Gul Dukat voice, that he made so famous on Deep Space Nine. But he is so good in this. I don't even think
he already been 2 characters in this season already, other than this one.
At least one.
He's at least one. He was unrecognizable as that dog creature thing.
Yes, the wounded hasn't come up yet, has it?
No. And so I actually don't even think they need the other guy. I know he's a famous character actor that Adam was bringing up, but I think that actually Mark Alimo could have owned this whole scene. You could have given all the dialogue to him, and it would have been maybe better for me. But anyway, so they kind of have it. Basically, the what happens in this scene is they kind of talk about why are you in the neutral zone? Why did you attack our bases? We didn't attack them. Our bases also got attacked on the other side of the neutral zone. Same thing. He's like, that's weird. Oh, yeah. Worf, I think, asked a question. And he's like, silence your dog, Picard.
Silence your dog. It's like, my dog actually had a good point, Commander.
Yeah. You answer my dog's question. Let's go.
Mr. Worf, heel.
I'm surprised he never said that.
And so they agree to like an information exchange and that they're going to work together on this one thing conditionally and whatever else. They're saying, well, what do you know? And this is where Offenhouse goes, they don't know anything. They're hoping you know. They're just waiting to see what you'll say. And he's like,
they're just too arrogant to admit it that they don't know.
They don't know. He's like, oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I think Counselor Troy would have figured that out as well, exactly. Or Picard himself.
But where is she? She's talking to Claire.
She's talking to Claire about family trees. Yeah, Anyway, so this whole conversation kind of wraps up here with Mark Alimo's, because Picard's like, we're making some progress here. We can be friends and whatever else. And he's like, listen, we're not here. We don't want to know you. We're not your friends. And we are back.
Take the hint.
Expansion everywhere.
Yeah, like they say that they've been dealing with something else that's been more important for these last 50 years. I'd love to know what that was.
I think they had some civil unrest and they were trying to, get their ducks in a row and back in leadership is established. But this is great.
I think they were pulling back just to rearm and refortify.
Yeah.
Like and all of a sudden, then they have 1 million Dederidex classes. It's not like they have one. It's like 2. It's like every Romulan ship we ever see now is a Dederidex class. So they must have built thousands of them.
I think they built their. If I'm not mistaken, I think during that 50-year period is when they actually implemented their 0-point cores with the black holes, the miniaturized black holes.
Like with the singularities as their warp cores, basically. I also wonder what's going on the other side of Romulan territory, the side that's not on the neutral zone side, Like presumably the Romulans are, I don't know, talking to other aliens on that side of the...
They have their whole Klingon border, too.
You know what I also liked about this scene here too is like down that hallway behind them, there's guys working and
right. We also get to see that Romulan Star Empire symbol. I think this is the first time we ever see that here, and that will with the Romulus and Remus in the clutches of the bird. Great.
It's kind of a mix of the what becomes the TNG Romulan uniforms and the TOS ones. It's kind of a mishmash of the two. Yeah,
I do like these uniforms. I think that the shoulder pads are a little they're a little much. I like that they kind of pulled those back in Deep Space Nine. Made them a little more functional. But they look cool in this particular scene with like the overlay of the I guess for these commanders, right, with this black texture.
The beautiful shade of Romulan gray.
Yes, the Romulan heart is gray, don't you know?
That exact shade.
Romulan uniforms come in every color, so long as you want it in gray.
Exactly. Which shade of gray would you like? Oh, just tepid for me, please.
So the Romulans they leave, and their introduction here, imposing and threatening, and I loved it. I loved just like said and Picard's like, I guess our lives just became more complicated, and get this Offenhouse house off the bridge. Screw this guy.
Boy off my bridge is what he should have said.
Yeah.
Now the question is, who does it react more angry to being on his bridge? This jackass or Wesley?
Definitely
Wesley.
No.
Yeah. It was definitely Wesley. Oh, back to Deanna doing important stuff here with Claire, and helping her figure out the family tree. We eventually see a picture here of her descendant, Thomas Raymond, born in 2329. So I guess he'd be a little older than Riker. And yeah, there he is. Who apparently...
That's Donald. It
looks like her husband. He looks like he's the spitting image of her husband, we're told. But he's
like
actually
John Lovitz.
Just like maybe, yeah.
What does he do? He's a movie critic.
It stinks.
Stinks.
Yeah. Anyway, so I think they're like, well, why don't you go see him in Indianapolis? That's something to do. I don't know. And they're like, she's like, okay, I guess. And so that's the end of Claire there. And so Claire's not at this meeting where basically Riker's like, or Picard says to Offenhouse and Sunny, well, we've arranged to meet up with another ship and they're going to take you back to Earth. And he's like, then
you can relay this to your homemaker later.
Yeah, you can tell the homemaker. They're like, well, what do we do once we get there? Live life, but with no money. What's the challenge?
What's the challenge?
The challenge is improving yourself, making your life better. They're like, that sounds kind of dumb.
Why didn't you just tell him about Ferenginar? He's like, look, there's a perfect place for you.
They just made first contact with the Ferengi. It's new.
Yeah.
But the Boley
This is actually the episode where you clearly can tell they're making the course correction. They're like, okay, the Romulans are the new big bad because nobody cared about the Ferengi. True. This is the course correction episode. Which why is the only reason why it does sort of make sense as a season finale. I mean, Conspiracy would have been a better one, but this is setting up
should have been
big bad.
Yeah, I agree that, but I think they knew that the Romulans were going to be the new big bad next season. And
this is the right one. Okay, Conspiracy went nowhere. It was a stupid episode.
I liked it.
A terrible episode.
Great. I gave it a 10.
Oh my god, Dave.
Just for
I know
action and impact, it worked better for me writing wise as a season finale, even though it goes nowhere.
Yeah,
just because it kind of has.
There's still time.
The guy's head explodes. I mean,
they might bring it back. Those bugs, like the signal, it might still come around. We don't know.
Lower Decks needs to pick that up.
Yeah,
that's what the Lower Decks movie.
I wish somebody would pick it up.
Well, I know, me too.
Then Adam will like the episode all of a sudden.
Then I'll like the episode.
So we could be saved. Anyway, so then after they kind of they head back to the bridge, they said that the ship will take you back to Earth, and then Picard says, or LaForge says to Picard, "We have a delay with the ship we were supposed to meet up with. Maybe we could just take them to the starbase, and they'd be home really much sooner." Picard goes, "No, I want them to have a slow trip back to Earth. It's your time."
They can drive every other crew crazy.
They can drive this other crew crazy, and they can get home. They can just be bored on that ship, for a long time, until they're ready.
They could have told Sonny about like Ryza or some shit too. Like he could have eased their friggin' anxiety pretty easy by telling them about some of these other planets. But he's just all like, "No, there's Earth, and you'll hate it, and they won't like you
be
either."
Learning the vibe tubes with Grok right now.
Yeah,
exactly.
The vibe tubes. Anyway, and then basically the episode wraps up right after that, where Picard says, like, "There's so much we don't know yet. There's so much to explore. Let's head out there." Hey, Riker, he's like, "Oh, that's right, sir. Let's head out there."
Aren't they supposed to find out what happened to the missing outposts
later?
We'll
They're dead,
later. Jim.
We have to talk to the Romulans some more and engage, and that is basically the end of the episode. So. I would love to know some fun facts about this episode, Adam.
There's all kinds. All right, you ready?
You're up, sir.
Okay. In the director's guide for the series, written by Gene Roddenberry prior to the first season, Romulans were covered by one of the main writing rules, which stated no stories about warfare with Klingons and Romulans, and no stories with Vulcans. We are determined not to copy ourselves and believe that there must be other interesting aliens in the galaxy filled with billions of stars and planets.
Okay.
However, as Davan alluded to, following the perceived failure of the Ferengi as the main villains of Next Generation, the production staff, the Romulans became the main villains in the early years of the series. This was in addition to the Borg, who were originally developed as an insectoid race for this episode, but became a race of cyborgs by the period in Q-Who. Interesting.
Q-Who will answer that question. There's no.
Okay, you ready?
What?
Yep.
Why?
Pourquoi?
Okay, the subplot regarding this time-displaced characters was added as a last minute after the cliffhanger. After the cliffhanger angles to the plot that had to be scaled back. The subplot was based on a fan story written by Deborah McIntyre and Mona Clee. The episode was a milestone in the history of Star Trek by establishing that the first season of Next Generation took place in 2364. This is the first time that exact calendar date was provided by Star Trek in a Star Trek episode. Kirkland's timeline had established as the 23rd century in the movie Star Trek IV Voyage Home. All Star Trek episodes, chronologies, novels, and background information since 1980 have been calculated from this date. Dave, that's canon.
That's canon. So it's a very important episode just from that, because when they do the Naked Now, they said like that happened X number of years ago. So then you can position when exactly the original series happened and etc. Right?
Yep. The Chronic satellite was identified only as an ancient capsule or a space module in the episode. Both in the Star Trek Encyclopedia and Star Trek The Next Generation Companion mention the name of the SS Birdseye was inscribed on the hull. The topmost segment of the satellite was labeled with the Registry of Identification number 4077, one of the many references to MASH in this episode.
So it did have some form of propulsion then, this thing?
Well, it had to if they weren't by Earth, right?
Well, that we said before you joined was like, how did this thing get out by the neutral zone even after 300 years? That's it would have to have some kind of thruster or something, right?
Well, I mean, it's space momentum. You're not going to slow down unless some other force reacts against you.
Unless you hit like a planet or something along the way. But yeah,
I guess it could have been pushed out of orbit or something at some point to get rid of space junk.
Well, what year do you think those three people were from? Like, if you had to guess.
They said, didn't they? They said it was like 370 years.
They said it was 350.
It was like the mid 90s. I did the math during while I was watching.
2364 minus like 350. I think
I have those dates here somewhere. Just give me a second.
It's like more like the 2000s potentially. But the thing I also noticed was that they had gravity plating, but we also know that Khan's ship also had gravity plating.
And there's an example. Don't wake up the dead.
But they weren't dead.
Well, don't wake up the sleeping.
But if you look at the technology on Starseed, it is definitely more advanced than this ship.
Okay, so Claire Raymond was born in 1959 and died in 1994.
Mid-90s, yeah.
Mid-90s.
Wow.
Ralph Alphenhos was 1939 and died in 1994. So
they all died around the same time because they would have been put in that thing around the same time, right? And then launched into orbit. It's one thing, we're going to freeze you, and then we're going to launch you into space and they had a reason for that in the episode, that it was, to prevent power failures, apparently.
I would assume it would be because of it had solar panels on it, right? So if you're in orbit, you're probably not going to lose, until you go against the planet.
Yeah, you're just not connected to a grid that can go down.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Yeah.
The role of Ralph Offenhouse was originally intended to be Harcourt Fenton Mudd, and the episode would have been much more comedic in nature. However, Roger C. Carmel died before production of this episode could begin.
That would have been something.
That would have been really different.
It's a whole different episode. Like, you have to just get rid of the other characters and just focus on Mudd.
Harry Mudd.
Walsh.
All right, sorry guys, I'm just
Leo Walsh.
Oh, there was a. I wish Sam was on tonight. There was a couple more names on that family tree, including Ginger and Marianne.
There you go.
Sam's kicking around. He showed up during X-Men anyway.
Yeah. Where's the
Professor and Marianne.
Right. James Conway remembers this episode. He was the director. Remembers this episode considered as one of the weaker first season shows. It was the last episode of the first season, and there was a writer's strike underway, and I think it was the first draft. And since it was a strike, we couldn't do any more work on it. Gene and the producers couldn't do rewrites.
Like it.
Do what we had.
Yeah, it feels like this would have been a tighter script had they had that option. And like I think like Mark Alimo really just sells me the episode at the end, with him specifically.
He's always great.
And Patrick Stewart's always great as well,
Okay, so this is also sort of a closure to what Davan was saying a little earlier. Two of the time-displaced humans return in Star Trek literature, with Ralph Offenhouse appearing in the Next Generation novel Debtor's Planet as the Federation ambassador to Ferengar. And again,
there it is. Yeah. He found his perfect job. I'm proud of him.
Yeah. And then he was again in Star Trek Destiny trilogy as the Secretary of Commerce for the Federation.
They have commerce?
Yeah. Claire Raymond.
Oh, yeah, they have to. Yeah. They had to buy the Defiant in the comic I just read. Like, they have money.
Yeah. Claire Raymond made a further appearance in Star Trek Department of Temporal Investigations novel Watching the Clock as counselor for the time-displaced people.
She became a counselor, Claire?
For time-displaced people.
A shrink.
For time-displaced people. Like, that's a growing industry. Like,
so she was Bateson's, like, counselor when Bateson comes back?
She's like, I know what you're going through. Kinda.
She was, like, with Daniels all the time. That guy needed some help.
Actually, I have a comic where Bateson's getting therapy. I wonder if that was her. I got to go back and look at that.
What about Berlinghoff Rasmussen?
He's fine. Just read a comic about him, too.
But he's time-displaced?
Offenhouse, Raymond, and Sonny Clemens also appeared in a two-part Star Trek The Eugenics Wars by Greg Cox, was set prior to their appearance in this episode.
And Rasmussen's also from New Jersey, just like Claire.
There's a Rasmussen comic right here. It's pretty funny. He's working with, he's on Talos 4.
Oh, can't go there.
No, he did.
Seems like something you do.
Okay, Will Wheaton does not appear in this episode. However, the screenplay featured Wesley as he was replicated he was the one that replicated the guitar for Sonny Clemens. In the scene, scripted but not filmed, Sonny asked him about several genres of popular music, including rock and roll and rhythm and blues. But despite being a teenager, Wesley does not have a clue about them.
Do you have anything? Did Gates McFadden know that she wasn't going to be back for season 2? Did any of them know at this point? Or was that between season 1 and 2 that happened? Is that mentioned in the fun facts?
I can't
any of them, just her, right? Tasha was already gone.
Right. Like, I guess I'm trying to, I'm still kind of fuzzy on like how she got sort of written out of that season, but
I don't think it was a secret, but I don't think it's ever really been clarified to my knowledge.
I thought she was pregnant.
No, the showrunners didn't like her. They didn't like her, and she didn't like being there.
Yeah.
And so they left. Then they brought in Pulaski. They didn't like that either because it didn't work. And then they brought her back.
Yeah, mostly
because Gene was gone by then. I think he was one of her detractors.
Right.
I like Dr. Sassafras. She was good. I enjoyed her for her season.
Well, if that's our end of our trivia, we can transition over to the ratings. And,
can I give you one more? This is the last episode we ever saw of Troy's totem hairdo.
This is the end of that.
End of the beats.
Pour one out for the bun. So I'm sure Heather will be.
Okay, so here's the deal on Gates McFadden. This is what it says here. She left the show during season 2, so I guess when they're filming, due to a behind-the-scenes dispute with co-executive producer Maurice Hurley.
Really like her.
She raised concerns about sexist scripts and plot lines, which led to her departure. However, she returned for the 3rd season.
Yeah, every friggin' script in the season is sexist in some way. Like, it's not great. I wouldn't want to be a woman working on that show either.
Well, she just got her butt slapped here in this episode. Maurice Hurley wrote this episode.
Been a contributing
of course he did.
Yeah. So yeah, well, he didn't last as the showrunner, and then things got even better. So,
well, she was there till season 7, so there you go.
Good to know. Okay, well then, everybody, with all that information now in your minds, let's rate this episode. It's not as good as Conspiracy, which is a great.
You don't want to rethink that 10, do you?
I don't. I loved it. I enjoyed this. It was pretty, like, I think the Romulans were a pretty good introduction, but however, I feel like it could be a better script. I feel like, this could be tighter. So I'm like a 7 for this, I think. Not bad, but not blow me away.
7.5 for me.
I think with the unfinished feel, all of the unresolved subplots, how 2D those meat popsicles were, the weird pacing.
Pacing was really weird.
I'm going to put this one firmly in the neutral zone at a 6.5.
Okay. Yep. Davan?
6.
Okay. So a 6.8 average here between the four of us. Nothing too spectacular. Not the worst episode we've certainly watched this season. And so yeah, that concludes our season 1. So we're averaging a 6 out of 10 for season 1.
Whoa. Let me give Conspiracy a mark, see if it pulls it down a little bit.
Okay.
5.
Good.
Admiral Quinn was the best part of that episode, especially when he.
Admiral Quinn. Oh yeah.
We should just go through this whole list and just see how many picks are just like trying to correct for Dave's picks.
Well, sometimes I correct for other people's picks. Yes, but you just brought the Conspiracy rating down to an 8, which
that's better, but it could be lower. Well, I gave it an 8, didn't I? Perfect.
You did. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now it's in line with you. And it's all is right. So yeah, we're still averaging a 6 out of 10 for season 1. So I wouldn't call that inflated. Like D Space Nine season 1. We gave D Space Nine of season 1 what? About the same, about a 5.9 out of a 6.4. So we're saying season 1 of D Space Nine better than this. So,
it is better, like pretty significantly better, because like the writers they had were better Star Trek writers by that point in Star Trek lore.
They did have the benefit of TNG running for how long? So they established, they had the established canon, whereas
there are many reasons
TNG didn't.
But that doesn't mean we have to go back and make excuses for this subpar season.
No. I mean, you're way too hard on this.
This season's not good.
This season, they're trying to figure.
How many people in the rewatches skip most of this season, if not all of it?
No, only a couple episodes.
I think
not me.
This is the best Star Trek series of all the series. I think this cast is the best cast. I think this captain is the best captain. And I think that, sure, it's got its faults, but they all do. And, I don't know. I still think that TNG is, I don't know. I'm nostalgic for it. It's what I grew up on.
It was my first Trek.
I thought Deep Space Nine's your first Trek.
No, Deep Space Nine I watched way later. Like, I didn't like it. I watched Voyager before I watched Deep Space Nine. Everything.
Oh, okay. So Deep Space Nine last. Yeah, I think I especially those early seasons of Deep Space Nine. I don't love them.
You just don't like the Maquis stuff.
No, I don't mind them.
You don't like the Maquis now. That's most of the first.
It's the Bajoran stuff I don't like.
Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. The Bajoran,
like the Circle and all that and but. And some of these random episodes they do, but there is some great episodes, like amazing episodes in those first couple seasons. And I think that this has a few merits here. TNG, I expect our season 2 ratings will be higher, and I expect our season 3 ratings will be even higher. So it will.
Mine are going to be through the roof in season 3 and 4, like through the roof.
Oh yeah.
But there's
Wounded. I'm going to give like a 14.
Yeah,
I think if we take the first season on its own, separate from the rest of the series.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's bad, but when you can look at it as part of what Next Generation becomes, I think it could have been a hell of a lot. It could have been the CW, put it that way. It could have been an 80s CW.
What? The whole series?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, if they just kept it like season 1. Yeah,
if they didn't learn their lessons in season 1,
Yeah.
I think that's a very wise
where it
statement. I think
goes.
that's where we're coming at it on different viewpoints here, Dave, too. I'm looking at it more as just the season one and separating it from what the greatness this show becomes.
Right. Well, I know that I obviously like those later episodes more as well. And I used to.
But then that's why I don't think like a 10 on conspiracy makes sense. There's no way you think that's as good as like some of the stuff that's coming, do you? Like,
Well, it's about the amount of enjoyment I get out of the episode, right? So if I can,
so your rating system's different.
I rate based on how much I like it. What's your rating system based on?
Well, I'm trying to compare the episodes of this season or of this series to other episodes of this series, and since I've seen them, I can sort of do it with a little more forethought. Is all.
Well,
Like-
yeah. It also just
Like
depends on
I look
my
at Chain of
mood.
Command, and I'm like, there's nothing in this season that comes within like 5 friggin' points of Chain of Command. Like,
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think I don't share that opinion with Justin that this is objectively bad. I disagree. Like, I think it's still good, and I agree it gets better. Like, I think we
Way
all,
better.
but it's fine, way better if you'd like to say that. But it doesn't mean I don't think that because something gets better doesn't mean that this is bad.
Oh no. I think bad might be a bit strong of a word. I think there was a lot of room for improvement in season 1,
Right.
even taken outside of a Star Trek IP, just from like a
It's just
writing standpoint.
so
in general.
incomplete. Every episode is just so incomplete in the writing. Like even like thing with the Worf thing standing there, like it's just like that makes no sense. They did it so they could have this fainting scene that they thought was funny, but like if you take into the fact all the characters that were there, it makes no sense that they would let that happen.
I think
Stuff like
too,
that,
big.
a lot of that.
sometimes like I know we're watching the show in 2024, and like I guess sometimes when I'm watching this, I go back to when this first was on, and I'm like, my mom would have laughed at that Worf thing, like I don't think it's that funny, but like she would have enjoyed it, and it's something like the 1980s. Sorry, what's that on?
Yeah. Em's like cutting out there.
It's after 9. So this
Shit
happens
live as a
Tuesday.
teenager in 87 or 86 or whatever it was. It was great, but we did have
Or good anyway, for that time for sure.
Well, what was better on at that time?
problems in these guys' minds at that time that did not allow nothing.
Yeah.
It's hard to say because I was 3 years old at the time, so I'd have to give that some thought and see what I. But
That was about 5 when
Yeah.
I'm slightly older than you guys, but not much. So.
Yeah, it's just
You're averaging
it's so much better, and I actually do feel your nostalgia because it's like I said, this was my first Star Trek show, but it's just like DS9 is not perfect either. You're right. Like what is that one? If wishes were horses. The
one of the better
storyteller,
ones.
like the storyteller is as bad as any of these bad TNG first season episodes. Storyteller's awful. Like DS9 season 1 definitely has some clunkers.
For sure,
Just not quite as many, and its good ones are
Vortex.
The writing's more complete. Vortex, I didn't even remember, which is what's crazy. You guys, it came up in a debate or something. I'm like, what are you guys even talking about? Yeah, so that one's not
what was
good.
this one? Yeah, Vortex. We wrote. It was really bad, and there's a lot
But
of.
there was no Barile in season 1, at least not a lot.
No Barile.
Not
There's
a lot
like
of Barile.
what's this
anyway.
one? 5.5. Even the Q episode is not great. And so
I would say that about most Q episodes myself. They're kind of the same thing over and over again.
that one, like as far as Q episodes go, I probably put the Deep Space Nine appearance at the bottom of his list. His Voyager ones are stronger generally.
Best
So,
ones. Yeah.
maybe the best ones for sure.
The one with
He has so
Vash,
much
is that the only time
chemistry
it shows
with
up?
Janeway.
Take
And they're
me out
real
of your-
good friends in real life too, him and Janeway. So they had all this chemistry, Delancey and Mulgrew, and you could tell.
Yeah. Go take us out of your precious vortex. I have to find that now because.
Oh, right. Okay.
Is it on here?
I'll give you the ball,
No.
then you give me the ball.
Can I have the ball, Molly? Can I have the ball, Molly?
Your precious vortex. Why can't I ever find this when I want to find it? It's such a good line. He's like, "Go take us out of your precious vortex."
Barile was in the season 1 finale. Well, there you have it.
Now, it's come to my attention that your Dabo wheel is in violation of Station Regulation 4721, which states...
Anyway, I couldn't find it, so that's what you can say.
Gosh, I miss his voice.
So,
Yeah, it is nice.
Anyway, well, thanks for everyone for being with us. It's a bit of a longer one. I think Adam's internet has crapped out on him, as it often does on these podcasts. So thanks, Adam, if you're out there listening. I appreciate you being on tonight. Thanks to Justin and Davan. I know, Davan, you're a late night one coming off your other podcast, the X-Men podcast. So go check out X-Rated. X-Men the Animated Review Show over on our sister channel in the United States.
The Treckle Trunk, where we just reviewed all these.
Yeah, we just did the Treckle Trunk last night under our Locutors of Trek banner. Last night you were on with Dave and Heather talking about all kinds of different comics. I listened to it last night, actually. After you were asking me questions about Admiral's uniforms, and I did respond in the comments. After
the fact. Okay, I'll have to go back and see what you said.
I wasn't watching it in live, but I watched after. Check out all the great stuff here. I think we have on Sunday. Is that the debate show coming up?
Yeah, it's us. We're going to do it. It's me and it's the Plain Simple Tailors versus Team Maidlard versus Team whatever Jody and Adam going to call themselves.
Team Chatham, obviously.
Chatham. Yeah. Chatham.
Yeah.
Jodem.
The defeated, we'll call them.
The defeated. Yes, we will. We will. Indeed.
I'm looking forward to that. We're also talking about...
Guess who gets to vote? Guess who gets to debate for Minefield on Sunday?
Kevin? Or is it Adam?
No. It's Jody.
Because, Adam and Jody both don't like it, right? So,
yeah. And they're on the same team, so they're going to have to debate for it, likely.
Yeah, that'd be good. So we're going to have all kinds of great debates. We're talking all Enterprise-themed debates, guys, on Sunday. So if you're a fan of Enterprise and you're a fan of the show, check that out. Also, I think we're looking at November 24th, and I guess it's a little under 4 weeks away, for our next edition of Star Trek Radio Theater under our Operations Division banner.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. And
conflict with Science Division Sunday.
I think we're trying to fit both in. I think that's in the talks right now.
Trivia and radio theater.
We're trying to find a way to do both, yeah. And the other thing was... Oh, yes, and we just sent our British correspondent, Benjamin Graves, to a special simulator in London, England. So look out for a special video.
We have one of those?
Yeah, apparently. We have a special British correspondent. I sent him on a mission, and so we'll be putting a video out shortly. He'll be talking all about this great experience he had in England, where it was kind of a simulator where you get to it's not Star Trek, but you get to be like a crew member of a spaceship, and you're the helm officer, and you're the captain, and you have to solve the problem. It's like a role playing kind of a scenario. So sounds interesting. Can't wait to show you guys all that soon. So look out for that in the near future here on Live Long and Podcast. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll be back next Monday night for our next edition of the Orville podcast, talking about identity. We'll be also doing Lower Decks on Thursday. Man, there's so much going on. So all kinds of great things. Appreciate that, Davan. And with that saying, we'll sign off for the night. And I think I got a good quote here to leave you for the evening. Thanks, and we'll be back for season 2 pretty soon. Okay.
Is it about pit woofies?
It's about pit woofies. Yeah, here, we'll go with this one.
Your presence is not wanted. Do you understand my meaning, Captain? We are back.
See you next time,
I think
everybody.
our lives just became a lot more complicated.
Beam up some Star Trek content with Live Long and Podcast. Tune in to X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. Artistic interviews with graphic histories. A roundtable movie discussion with Hey, did you see this one? And movie reviews with Hold Up, a movie podcast. And while you're at it, spin a few records with Eamon on Track. Watch us duke it out on trivial debates. And let's chat about TV with the Super Mater Brothers. It's all here on the United Federation of Podcasts.